when I say mobile first, mobile only, what I mean is that in the old days, we used to design software to work on a desktop. And then we would take that software and try to force it into an app that would then work on a different size tablets. That's going away. Designers are designing straight to the app now. They're skipping the desktop. So a lot of tools are going to be different and that's going to change things, and we're going to talk a little bit how that does change things. And this was in 220. What I mean by that is that when you design for a desktop, you design for a 2-hour attention span. When you design for a tablet or a phablet or whatever you want to call those things in between, you've got 20-minute attention span. When you design for a phone, you have 2 minutes. And I say the 2 minutes because that's how long I can hold my arm up, because now I have to read it like this. But it's 2 minutes. And the 20 seconds for the new Apple Watch, which I will go get, but I won't be able to read it because it'll be too small and I can't hold it far away. But that is, and those are different type of designing. If you're designing an Argus type program, that's going to be on a desktop. You're going to have to really dumb it down to get that down to the watch, which I don't think we'll need Argus on our watches, but we might need something else. So you're not going to see the same app on everything. And in fact, some apps, does anyone ever sit around and go like, how can I do this on my phone, but why can't I do this on my desktop? There are some apps I wish I had on my Mac. So, you know, we're all changing the way we think about these things. The next thing, we'll talk a little bit about cybersecurity. That is going to be factored into every software that is being developed. Anything that touches technology, cybersecurity is going to be a key ingredient every time. And finally, this mobile first, mobile only allows us to bypass a lot of the infrastructure. And that's what I want to talk about. This picture is saying, I was recently in Guatemala, and I had a wonderful opportunity to meet some of the women living up in the hills and in the farm communities, and we're hearing their stories, and we're hearing about people who are working with them, trying to help them. And one of the things that fascinated me was hearing that they had cell phones. They don't have electricity, but they have cell phones. I said, well, how do they deal with the cell phones? Well, then they would walk down the mountain and pay money to charge the cell phone, and then they go back up the mountain and you know, it would go on like this until some young folks they have some real entrepreneurial nature down in Guatemala, the young people there, they've invented solar panels so that the women could charge their cell phones. Now, they're getting solar chargers before we are in the United States. We have some, they're out there. I mean, it doesn't work in Boston because it's been snowing nonstop for a month, but you know, there are some out there, but they're going to get solar charged cell phones before we do. That's because we have infrastructure. It is not in our best interest because it's so easy. We have electricity running. So in other countries, they are bypassing the infrastructure. Another example of this is Twitter. When Twitter first came out, it was the rage overseas in developing countries. We were always curious looking at the demographics that African-American populations and the Egyptian population and even South American, they were adopting Twitter in larger percentages than the equivalents in than white Caucasians, let's just say. And the reason was they didn't need a desktop computer anymore. They could do it from a phone. And Twitter, you can do from a flip phone. You don't even need a smartphone. So they were able to, because there is no infrastructure, they were able to adapt to Twitter, and that's why it was even bigger. It's growing and it's really big, and that's why WhatsApp, which we haven't really used much here in the United States, is one of the biggest applications in the world. So finally, I want to talk, I'm going to switch gears. This is another reason skipping the infrastructure, currency. In Africa, in Kenya, one of the new currencies is the M-Pesa. And it's basically, you walk into a local retail branch that's a retailer that's authorized to be a M-Pesa depository, and they deposit money, and then after that, it goes between their phones. It's basically banking without a bank. And it's taken off enormously. So they basically changed the way currency is done because they didn't have banking infrastructure. They had to do something else. So we're going to see the rise of different currencies, and we're seeing some of it now. I was very surprised. I'm an online shopper, and I was very surprised to see this recently. I think this was Overstock.com. Bitcoin. They were accepting Bitcoin. And I don't even know, some of these other ones were all new too. It used to be just the PayPal at the top. So now there are alternative currencies. Actually, here's another question. There's one alternative currency out there that's not tied to banks or anything like that that we use now. Can anyone name what it is? Some of you might have flown here with it. Points. Did I hear it from the back? Yeah, points. No bank guarantees that my points are worth anything. If JetBlue wants to take them away from me, they can take them away from me. But yet, I can use it to go anywhere, unless I'm stuck in LaGuardia. But yeah, so Bitcoin is coming out. And so why is it now coming out? Whenever I look at new technology, new trends, the ones that work make it, they have access, everyone has access to it, it's affordable, and there's accountability. And we're going to bring these 3 words up, and it's going to hit home for you a little later on some real estate apps. You got to look at the access, affordability, and accountability. Bitcoin has made it across. Accountability, it is technically more secure than a dollar bill. It's, we can't go into it right now, but if you ever research it, it's coded. Like any Bitcoin I exchange, there will be a permanent track record that I had it, I used it at Overstock, then Overstock used it to go do something else. It's actually as if every dollar was microchipped. And that's why they've made it across with access, affordability. And the only thing on accountability it's not having is public buy-in. We don't trust it yet. I don't trust it yet. I mean, I don't know yet. So that's where they're at. But here's something new. What Apple Pay, we've all heard about coming out. They've made it across by the day that Bank America came out with a notice that Apple Pay, for those who have Bank America accounts, you know, that Apple Pay is backed by Bank America. That's where the accountability came from. Okay, it is tied to a bank. Okay, I feel better. I might use Apple Pay. They also have the thumbprint security, so it is more secure than handing a stranger your credit card. And for those germaphobes in the audience who don't like to have people touch their credit cards and touch it back or whatever, yeah, this is probably the most secure and convenient app. So I have a feel, I did go out and buy some stock. Hopefully it will send my kid to grad school on that, because I think this is the real killer, not the watch. This is the killer app coming from Apple. And they didn't pay me to say that. So what's changing in design? Mobile allows us to skip the infrastructure altogether. It's going to be slower adopting in the United States because we have so much infrastructure. In fact, there are countries out there that get faster Wi-Fi than we do, and the names would surprise you. Security is going to be a leading issue. Your banks, your everything. I mean, that's a whole seminar unto itself. And people are designing for shorter attention spans. I mean, a 20-second app on a watch, I'm just fascinated as to what that's going to look like. So I think Solomon has a smartwatch, so he can probably show you. So next, the word that we hear all the time in this company, collaboration. This is what the mobile apps help collaborate, and I think that's what's supercharging the rush to the sharing economy. And here are the 2 biggest examples of the sharing economy in play. A lot of us have used, it's Airbnb and then Uber, and they've got the first 2, right? Access, affordability, but where they're falling down is accountability right now. But they will win. This is why there's lawsuits in Chicago, there's lawsuits in Paris, there's Airbnb, they're not paying hotel tax. Are they hotel? They don't fit into our current infrastructure. They or their successor will probably win that battle eventually. But that's part of the sharing economy. It is coming. And the nice part is, you know, it's coming to our industry too, and we're leaders in this. So these are a couple of the crowdsourcing, crowdfunding, CompStack was here. They actually, I mean, they're crowdsourcing lease comps. This is why we're partnering and we're looking at companies like this. But again, they might have the access, affordability, but do they have the accountability yet? And that's, I think, with the crowdsourcing of funds is a little still questionable in people's minds and the regulators' minds and different things like that. But the nice news is we are at the forefront. We've been collaborating in a sharing economy since we began. And you're going to see us push more through the product councils in the next year, because I've seen some incredibly good examples of using this as a knowledge sharing information. People were vetting potential buyers. Are they real or not? Has anyone dealt with them? So sign up for whatever is in your main specialty, and it's a great source of information just sitting out there. Look at the talent we have in this room and in the entire conference. So we've been leading this for a while. We just have the tools. Talk about crowdsourcing. We've been crowdsourcing demand for our projects. So we are putting this into action. So all these other firms can sit there and say they do all this stuff. Yeah, well, you just tune in on Monday. So if you want to tell your clients, we're at the forefront of this, we're at the forefront of the sharing economy, we need to get your information out there, check out the Monday call. And here's another reason, here's another interesting, I love graphs that make me stop and think. This was from 2014, LoopNet and Google teamed up, did a survey, and obviously this is for LoopNet to say that they're a needed commodity, although I would argue they kind of fall down on the first A of our affordability, or access, affordability, and accountability. So it'd be interesting to see what the next phase of the next LoopNet and whether it'll come on the mobile phone first. That's my prediction. This is first source use. Because we have a lot of new buyers in the market, we've been talking about that, first-time buyers, people getting out of the markets, they do all seem to go on the internet first. It doesn't mean they operate without a broker, but we want to be found first. If we get to be known as the collaborating, sharing economy, we're going to show up when people are looking for a trusted source. So that's why you're going to see Kevin and I, we're buying in total. This is what we are. We 50% of the commission, 100% of the time. This is what's going to make us a leading company and keep us in the lead in the next era. The survey was pretty interesting. It did say that even if they used a broker, they did check out online because they didn't necessarily trust they were seeing all the potential resources out there. So if you can find the study, if you Google for it, it's pretty interesting. So what's changed in collaboration? Mobile is helping fuel this along, and the rest of the world is trying to catch up to us. So let's keep outpacing the competition here.